Hello, welcome to Live Rally Games Podcast. My name is Steven, and I'm back with more Surviving Bloomington content. So grab your Lunchables and grab your bananas, because this is an episode, a lot of content we'll need to unpack. I'm here today with Taylor. Taylor, I have had the honor of interviewing for her Surviving Real Food experience, and now we get to be together to talk about Surviving Bloomington. So I'm really excited for this. Taylor, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited to jump right into it.
Yeah. So Taylor, you know KC from your work with Surviving Real Fit last summer when he was one of the competitors, correct?
Yes.
And according to KC, there is a world where you would have been on this season.
Scary to think about now that we're a little deep into this.
And so I believe you have taken Hannah's spot had you competed, so you would have been on the Beauty Tribe.
Yes.
So if you were on the Beauty Tribe and if you were coming to this game with no Surviving Bloomington connections, what would you do differently or the same as Hannah?
I honestly think that Hannah has been executing her position in the game like pretty flawlessly, given the hand that she, one, doesn't know people who've played before, but two, it's an all-star cast where pretty much everyone has played at least one time together.
Mm-hmm.
And she's an alternate. That's really scary to think about. And I think the biggest hurdle with that kind of position is just getting your footing, especially if you lose first. And I think the beauty of her not losing that very first challenge, I think helped her really build relationships, because Hannah's great. It's just, it was a big question mark on whether or not people were going to give her that chance. And I'm so glad to see that we're getting to the point where she's not necessarily just an outsider anymore. Like, it's not unexpected to see votes being thrown her way, but I think she's doing really well at like becoming part of everything.
Yeah, I think we're really kind of getting a masterclass of how to play a game without ever having played with all the other returning players before.
Right.
I think I'm curious how much does she benefit for Connor being there, so there is that first vote she can get past versus
Right.
Stacy, who didn't have another player like that in the game. But I mean, we're going to talk a lot about Hannah this episode, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. I think that Stacy and Hannah gave us both spectrums of what can happen. I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily think Stacy has done anything wrong. I actually had the pleasure of writing it out to the end with her. It's really hard when it gets those early votes. So it's
Mm-hmm.
nice to be able to see that it can go both ways.
So, what are your thoughts on the season overall? What has anyone surprised you? Have you had any favorite players you've discovered?
This cast and game has just been phenomenal. I think the twists so far have really played into the game, whereas sometimes you think of an amazing twist, and obviously the shot in the dark is familiar to people who watch Survivor on CBS.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to see that people are actually utilizing it. People are sharing their bullets before they're even going to votes, and using them kind of to build trust. So have just been super pleased with this game. It seems that it's very fluid. People are talking in terms of very new school Survivor, as in voting blocks and not just like writing out with your original tribes to the end. So it's very interesting to see. I think as we approach the merge, it's only going to get messier because people
Mm-hmm.
are going to bring up people's past games. And I think the votes are going to get a lot more hectic. And in terms of favorite players, I obviously was rooting for Stacy and Hannah from the
Mm-hmm.
start. Hannah has seriously just been amazing, so fun to watch. I also, some favorites, Jordan has been one of my favorites to watch from the beginning. She just, you could tell that she was going to have a grasp on this game from the start. And I saw that, I believe she got ninth the last time she played, which is pretty deep into the game. I didn't watch her last game, so I don't know what it entailed, but she's definitely been a favorite to watch. Both Megans. I think the common theme here is I love watching strong women. I really did also enjoy watching James as well. And so, yeah, I think those are my few favorites so far.
Well, let's get started talking about this episode. So, we launch right into the players being broken up into pairs and given 20 minutes to have lunch with this player from a different tribe. Now, when's the last time you had a Lunchable?
It's been a very long time. I sometimes I see them in the storm like good memories, but I don't think I've had one since I was a kid.
I mean, I loved it when I was a kid, but they're not a lot of food. It's like they're fun for what they are, but you kind of finish and you're like, wow, I'm still really hungry. I've seen like there's adult sized Lunchables in the stores you
Mhm.
can get, which I haven't purchased, but I it's kind of the perfect lunch for a Survivor game where have some food, but you ain't getting much.
Right, right.
I wonder if this is going to be in lieu of any kind of merge feast they might have, because I'd imagine we're merging somewhere soon into day two.
Oh, definitely.
So we see 6 pairs of two. And so we have Alyson and Megan from the Red Tribe. We
Yes.
have Devonte and Dallas, who we'll talk a lot more about. We have Mia and Megan,
Hmm.
Megan from the Brains Tribe. Hannah and Jordan, long time allies from the Brain Tribe, long time, day and a half allies from the Brain Tribe. Uh, James and Rosie, who sometimes gets called Andrew, so I don't know when people choose which name they use for him, but it's fun. And then our former winners, Boogie and Adam, are paired up. What were your thoughts when you saw these combinations?
I think the two combinations I was the most excited to see were Hannah and Jordan because I've been
Mm-hmm.
rooting for them. And I kind of have gotten the feeling that Hannah really wants to work with Jordan. And Jordan hasn't mentioned as Hannah as much, but you can tell they're working together. So I was really excited to see if we'd get
Mm-hmm.
any like snippets of like any game plan or really like, their one-on-one strategy that they knew that they had their own time for. And then of course, Boogie and Adam, I was just really curious to see where that conversation was going to go because it's obvious that they're going to be on each other's radars in this game, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just, I wondered how they were going to approach it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was excited for the Boogie Adam pairing just to see like you have two former winners. We're not quite sure how much they know interact or like what their game plans are, but they're kind of coming to say, hey, we need to look after each other because of this connection. Which, though, to be fair, no one has come after them until this episode where you see the first shots being fired against Boogie. And even
Mhm.
though we've heard a lot of Devonte, a lot of anti-Adam rhetoric, but it hasn't manifested because he hasn't been in the same tribe with Adam yet.
Right.
Um, yeah, for the most part, like there was nothing super. I think the only things to note in the conversations we saw between the players is you see a lot of information being spilled in regards to what happened at your tribal, what was played at your tribal. And
Mhm.
because that, while last episode we had the blue tribe have this like, oh, the red tribe is so strong and we need to be concerned. We don't get any of that rhetoric anymore. It's kind of gone. I
Yeah.
think after hearing that two idols got played and Meredith got idled out, essentially.
Yeah,
Um,
it was I don't know, I think that you could really tell that they were wanting to dive right in, especially
mhm,
with these pairings. I think everyone up to have those conversations. I
mhm.
just still think people are like, "Is merge around the corner? Are we going back to our tribes? How is this challenge going to work out?" That people still kind of held their cards pretty close to them.
So, what would your strategy be if you were in kind of this kind of setting in a Survivor game, right? Like you're like I don't know if it's a returning setting or if a new player setting changes. Let's say you're sitting down with a player from another tribe, merge is looming. What do you say? What do you do?
Again, it's kinda hard to say depending on, like, the dynamic of
Mm-hmm,
everything. If the person is someone I've talked to before and I'm
mm-hmm,
feeling good with, I would use that lunch to just, like, confirm everything, use that as a completely private setting that you don't get a lot. Be like, "This is what's happening. This is what I see. Like, what do I need to do for you?" Maybe if I need something that should happen over there, tell them. If it's someone I have not talked in game to at all, I think I would approach it a little bit more slowly and kind of see where their head's at, kind of see if they're feeling in with their people, not because you could really use that time to like pull in an ally that people aren't expecting because
mm-hmm,
you can play that off pretty easily as like, we didn't talk much. They just kind of told me a little bit, but you could really pull in a close ally. And especially right before merge, you every number is so helpful. So
mm-hmm.
I think that I would definitely use that to give myself another core ally. But it's hard to know what people are going to do after that.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's your only interaction, you don't know how truthful they're being.
So one thing we see with James and Rosie is James is like kind of saying, hey, like I can be an ally for you. I'll bring numbers to you. Here's who I think I can have. It felt a little one-sided with James kind of pledging to Rosie in that extent. I don't feel like it was kind of I mean, they kind of talk about like who's your core alliance possibilities, but felt more of, at least we heard a lot more of like James promising Rosie. And so I'm
Yeah.
curious, do you like that? It's like, hey, let me prove to you I'm a good ally, or would you rather play it like, hey, come to me and be my ally?
I see that was the conversation where I was like, ooh, I think James is going to be putting himself in a really sticky situation because he was spilling, he was saying, hey, we can pull in Hannah. Like, not only was he spilling what his core alliance was, it felt like he was saying, these are the people we can get as well. So I think with just such a short amount of time, I think it was a bit too much. And I think that had the conversation been a little bit more two-way, like kind of just give a little bit to see what you were getting in return before just like spilling, then I think it could have been more helpful. But I think that was the point where I was like, my boy James is going to get clocked here soon, and I was really sad about it. But it could have gone really well because like him spilling that much also could have been like, oh, he really trusts me. But when you aren't getting as much in return, I think that should be something you think about, like, hey, I just gave my whole game away. Am I going to have to like re-strategize? Like, am I going to be able to? So, because he had no idea what was coming with this challenge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think there's any world you would predict what that challenge would have been. And I don't know if it would have been as much of an issue, except he was he heavily disclosed what went down with everyone else in his
Right.
tribe. And so I don't know how much that was weighing on their thoughts and decisions, but we'll see.
Yeah. I think he could have painted it more like this is what was going on this round. This is why we had to do this. But like, I'm with you. I want to move forward with you. Like, this was just a voting block.
So after this 20 minutes, we get to the immunity challenge. The immunity challenge is a take on a prisoner's dilemma.
Yes.
A prisoner's dilemma is typically you have two prisoners, each in a separate room, and you're interrogating them and say, hey, if you roll on the other prisoner, your sentence will be lighter. But if you both roll on each other, you're gonna have a moderately heavy sentence. And so therefore the prisoners are incentivized to roll on each other because it's the best, unfortunately.
Right.
And so in this case, players could cooperate or betray. If both players cooperate, they're both immune at the next vote because by the way, both tribes are going to tribal council. So if they both cooperate, both immune. If one betrays the other, the betrayer gets immunity and an extra vote, and the betrayed is exposed and loses their vote. And finally, if both players betray, I believe nothing happens. They're just both exposed at the next vote.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just making.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both just lose immunity.
Yeah. So really kind of nothing happens. And of course, there's some caveats of one tribe's fully immune, another tribe isn't. The other tribe goes to tribal twice.
Yes.
And if everyone is immune after a round, we mulligan and try again. And we essentially take two. So give me your thoughts on this adaptive prisoner dilemma challenge.
I think I love Prisoner's Dilemma more so when I'm not the one in it.
Yeah.
For this one, it's really hard because you want to build that rapport. You want to build the trust with someone and not come off as a sneaky person by betraying. So it's not crazy to think that most people are going to cooperate with each other. The hard part is that if just one person on the opposing side betrays, not only are you losing one person on your tribe, but you're going to lose two. And you could be that person who's betrayed and potentially the only person exposed at your tribal. And so I just think it's very complicated. I think it's hard to say. I want to say I'd cooperate, but you just don't know. It's messy.
Yeah, so I have a couple thoughts. So like the fact you can get immunity through cooperation is amazing, right? Because I think the way I look at a prisoner's dilemma is I'm always willing to ally or cooperate, right? Because I'm fine being betrayed because that gives me ammo against you later on. I can then use the smirch your name and say, hey, can we really trust them? Like I'm looking to build relationships. If you want to destroy it, that's fine. I'll deal with the repercussions. So I do kind of lean towards cooperate. That said, I think players should have been thinking more of the double tribal aspect. Just because if your concern is like, oh shoot, are we going to go? We don't want to go to tribal at all. Betraying can help ensure that the other tribe can likely go to tribal twice.
Right, and I think that it was just a mix of no one knew what anyone was doing. I think no one wanted to be that one person to betray because people wanted to be safe, and I think people just were more so focused on their individual safety,
Mhm.
and like you said, not the
Yeah.
chance that they would be going to tribal twice.
I wonder when production was sketching out the amount of players they predicted would betray versus cooperate. I can't imagine they really imagine almost everyone would cooperate, but immunity is a big incentive for players. That is probably the most important that you can have in the game, and being able to get it through cooperation, I think, is such a big allure. Maybe one way you can tweak it is like, hey, cooperate, nothing happens, you're fine, right? If you betray, one person betrays, they're immune, the other player loses their vote, and they both betray. Perhaps there's some sort of cascading penalty, like a penalty vote at the merge tribal council. It can't compete in the first
Right.
merge challenge, like something that like said. So because I think you want to incentivize players to betray to make it more interesting versus cooperate.
Yeah, I think that was the hardest thing, is like it was just almost too safe to cooperate.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was watching it, I thought that either everyone was going to cooperate and we'd see it again and see so many betrayals,
Mm-hmm.
or there would be multiple betrayals from the start. So the fact that this only led to one betrayal, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about here in a second, it's interesting.
Also because it is an all-star season, players know each other. If you look at these pairings, you have some very incentivized people who want to work together. Hannah and Jordan aren't going to betray each other likely. Boogie and Adam aren't going to betray each other. It's like you just get this one pair, Dallas and Devontae, where Dallas like, nope, not comfortable, received the majority votes last tribal council, not
Right.
doing this again, and he betrays Devontae, and Devontae is ticked off, to say the least.
Yeah, I was not surprised that Dallas was the one to betray. I just, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I think that this is going to be the only one. So I was just immediately in my head thinking, what is going to happen to Devontae? And they were just looking at each other. It's like, I had to. So it'll be interesting to see if this impacts the way how people feel about Dallas, like if he gets retaliation for it, or if people are like, you had to do what you had to do, just kind of how he's going to play this off.
I mean, spoilers for how it works out, considering Devontae is not eliminated, and so he's still in the game, and he's going to bear a grudge against Dallas for this. If you're Dallas, you got to be like, uh-oh, I have made an enemy, and the enemy is still here.
Yeah, because originally, like the chances of how everything played out, the chances of that happening were so small to be, get that safety after being the only person not safe. So now, yeah, Dallas is going to have to deal with that. And with a merge right around the corner, I'm sure that's going to be, I'm predicting that's going to be like, they're going to be on two sides, and that we're going to see at least a vote or two of those two going at it.
Yeah, and so I think there will be some interesting repercussions. And honestly, when it was revealed that Devontae is the only one who was betrayed, the only one who is exposed to that first tribal council, and by the way, the blue tribes to go to the second tribal council now because he was the only one who was vulnerable. I was like, man, does he just get limited right here, right now? Because like me as an idol, she's not going to share it. Is there even another idol hidden? I totally forgot about the shot in the dark.
Me too. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, is he just going to like get kicked out like right off this mat?
Yeah.
But then Casey reminded us, okay, advantages can still be played. So now I'm looking, is he going to be looking for advantages? Is he going to be begging for these bullets? I just knew it was going to be a mess. So
yeah, because had Devontae been eliminated this way, oh man, this would be a eulogy for Devontae right now. That's what we'd be doing this episode. But that doesn't quite happen, which I'm so thankful for. Because again, we already praised the shot in the dark. We'll praise it some more because the shot in the dark has been revamped and made much more interesting, and it saved Devontae.
Yes, I have been waiting for Devontae to just be able to, he's also one of my faves, just have his moment to pop off. He has so much, not a ton of redemption. He said that he was rightfully wronged, in his last season. So I've just been waiting for him to have this chance to be like, this is my game. Clearly he has what it takes to get to the end of the game. So now this is just lit a match under him. So I was just very happy that everything worked out how it did, and it's definitely going to impact the rest of the game.
Yeah. So let's talk about the scramble after the blue tribe loses immunity, where there's going to be two tribal councils. The first votes, Devontae is the only one who's not immune. And so let's start with Devontae, because we essentially get this glorious montage of every person on his tribe giving him their shot in the dark. What was your reaction to this occurring?
I just, it was so smooth. I definitely expected Devontae to be able to get a few shots in the dark, but then that little number on, I guess it was this side of the screen, just was like 1, 2, 3. And then when it got to 6, I was just like, Devontae really knows how to work it, because not only is Devontae now safe, but now so many players do not have a shot in the dark for the future. It was just like so well executed, because it's not like Devontae has not been on people's radars, especially a lot of people talked about it in their confessionals this episode. Yet every single person gave it to Devontae, knowing that they were going to have to go to 2 tribals. It felt just like a fever dream, like the Twilight Zone. I was just so shocked.
All right. So let's say you're in Hannah's place and Devontae asks for a shot in the dark. Do you give it to him?
See, that was the one that was hard for me, because Hannah has gotten votes before, but she also knows that she's getting to the point in the game where it's not about, being like you are trying to keep yourself off the bottom of the totem pole. Like, it's going to start turning where everyone begins to look at the top of the totem pole. So I do, in hindsight, think it's a good move for her, because it does keep Devontae in the game and give her more options for these 2 votes. But at first I was like, don't give yours away. Chances are he's safe. But one thing I was a little bit unclear on is, do you know what people knew about, or which people knew about what bullets had been given
to Devontae?
Yes.
I didn't really track that. I don't know if people were aware that he had accumulated 6. I'm sure he probably disclosed it by the time he did that, or just like, hey, such and such, I only need 1 more. Can I please have it?
Because there's no way that he was like, I have 4. Can I have yours? So I think he just went about it in a really smooth way, where the trust he has obviously built previously or prior to this moment has really helped him to not only get a couple, but he got everyone's bullets.
I was wondering though, let's say you're Hannah and you met with Jordan, surely you could just say, I'm so sorry, I gave it to Jordan because she asked for it in my meeting with her. All right, I think I think certain players, you can maybe use the excuse like, I handed it off to this ally on the other tribe. I'm so sorry, I don't have it on me right now.
Right, and it kind of does surprise me that there wasn't a little bit more of that, or people talking about like, hey, should I not give it? I think everyone was just like, let's do it. We're making moves this round. And I think that trumped the possibility of I guess it just, it overpowered what people wanted to do by keeping it to themselves. I think people were like, this is going to help me make a move. I'm going to do it.
I think there's a little bit of aspect of seeing someone go out the way Devontae would have gone out is just leaves a bad taste. So everyone wants to see him out. And also, Devontae has successfully made himself important to everyone's games. Hannah's like, I need him as a shield. Alyssa is like, this is a person I'm strongly working with as a duo. James is going where Alyssa's going. Boogie says Devontae's my number 1. It's like everyone is putting Devontae as this key piece in their games coming to merge. And so I can see why they give it to him, but I guess the problem is you have to feel confident the votes are going away, and everyone felt confident the vote was going to go away, considering they're going to have 2 more votes, and there's only we're all exposed.
Right, and it's just the fact that now at Tribal, everyone knows that he had all 6 bullets. What is going to yes, he was safe this round, but I think it might cause some rifts in voting blocks, because how is it so easy for Devontae to get all these bullets when everyone loves to have Devontae's name in their mouth as a threat, as a shield, or as an ally?
Well, Devontae finally gets credit for what I've been saying these past couple episodes. I've been really looking for players to try to harvest shots in the dark or get shots in the dark away from players that are being voted out. And Devontae finally did it. He got shots from James and Alyssa that voted them out. So. Right. It's. I wonder if I was in a situation, would I be giving my shot in the dark and it would be like, no, dude, I'm sorry, because if you go home, that's 1 less tribal I am exposed in. It's just weird. There's immunity is such a big paramount, but people essentially gave it up, right, to save Devontae is what happened.
Right. Especially because it was knowing that there were, like we said before, that there were the 2 tribals. So I personally feel like I would not have wanted to part ways with mine as
Mhm.
easy unless I had really had that strong relationship with Devontae, which makes me wonder, did everyone think they had a really strong relationship
Mhm.
with Devontae?
Mhm.
And so I think that we'll find out more, especially in the upcoming episodes.
No one writes his name down either, even after the
No,
like.
no, because that was a talk, is that,
Mm,
maybe we'll give it to him to make him comfortable, and then he won't play an idol or do something,
mhm,
and but he didn't get a single vote.
mhm. So yeah, so I was just pretty phenomenal, kind of just watching that go down. Everyone saying
Yeah.
we need to save Devontae. This is good for our game. It's like, oh
Yes.
my gosh, it's only good for 4 people's game, not 6. Um, so Alyssa, we don't hear a lot from. Alyssa makes it clear that her biggest allies are Devontae and James, and because
Right.
of that, she's targeting Boogie and Mia, not Hannah.
Yes. I think just because James has made it clear that Hannah is a number he feels like he can
Hmm.
pull in. I think that probably went into deciding who she wanted to target, but it is confusing because I think Hannah still potentially could have been the easy vote
Hmm.
this round, knowing that there's two. Hannah's gated by multiple rounds now with her name
Hmm.
down. So I was surprised that her name was not on the chopping block and that
Hmm.
she put herself in kind of a beautiful position.
Yeah, we saw last week that she identified Alyssa and Devontae as the big two of the tribe. Got on good with them. James feels comfortable with her. She got to Mia fast. Said, "Hey, you and me, let's work together." Boogie likes his original beauty tribe and is rooting for them. Therefore, Boogie feels connected with her. I think she's done a great job just warming into each of these players. So finally, episode 6, she is not a decoy boot
Yes,
ish.
it's like the moment I've been waiting for this whole time. Like it was about time Hannah got her time to like pop off.
So, is there anything Alyssa could have done?
That's hard. I just feel like she was kind of a casualty of the round. I don't necessarily think that she was like doing too much. I just think she kind of was like a compromise people could come to because while people were kind of saying, oh, there's two sides, it was very interconnected. And I think that she just happened to be that person. Maybe people were threatened by her. She's a strong person, but I really don't know if I think that she could have done anything except really push maybe that Devontae is a threat. This is, their chance to get rid of all these shot in the darks and vote someone bigger. It was kind of a surprise to me that all this work went into it and Alyssa still was the one to go.
I wonder if she had thrown James on the bus. Then she go to Devon and say, "You matter for my game. I want to work with you more than matter what. We have to vote out 2 people. I'm okay letting James go. Like, let's let James go, then take out Mia afterwards, or let's James go. I don't care who we take out afterwards, but like maybe by being more not probably good for a game, but more flexible in that regard would have let Devontae and like maybe Hannah say it's like, yeah, I think we do want to keep Alyssa around, we can sacrifice a different ally instead."
Yeah, and that just comes down to, James was saying Alyssa is like one of his number one allies, if not his number one ally. And it's just comes to that hypothetical that we
Mm-hmm.
all love to hate. And as if it comes down to you and your ally, like, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you think she saw it coming this way?
No.
That's what I'm saying is I just really don't think she saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right. She probably would have had to go after James because James obviously was on people's radars at this
Mm-hmm.
point. But she just didn't see it coming.
I think if you're Alyssa, you probably say, all right, I think we'll take out Mia, then they'll blindside James. I think that's probably the order you expect things to go down.
Right.
I think you can probably feel comfortable saying James is Mia's an easy consensus, and then if they then maybe they'll take out James afterwards if things go worse. So this is truly worst case scenario for Alyssa.
Right. And do you know if other people know about Mia's idol? I have not caught that.
I don't think people
so.
do.
So
Else,
yeah,
I
that
think
would
Mia
have
would
been
have been a target.
that would have been a real possibility because even Mia has been like, should I play it? Should I not? Yet here, James is the one to get the votes first. So I
And
don't
one of the things
know.
I speculated last week was with Griffin going home, it's essentially gave Devontae, Hannah, and Boogie a leg up by having a threesome, right? And leaving and basically leaving Alyssa and James in a weaker position in that matter. I was wondering, like,
Right.
would that haunt them? And I feel like it did haunt them this episode because with Griffin going, it made it easy. So there's like, yeah, we'll go 2-3.
Right. It did because and the thing was is James really thought he had Hannah like
Mm-hmm.
on a leash, like ready to like pull in as
Mm-hmm.
soon as he needed to. I really do like the Devontae, Boogie, and Hannah though dynamic. It's a little scary. I don't know if it's gonna last, but I do like it right now.
Let's talk a little bit more about James. I did appreciate that James was vocally not happy that Alyssa gave their shots in the dark to Devontae. I appreciate that because I can see why you're like, well, wouldn't it be nice to actually truly be immune for a full round, not simply just start over and everyone exposed.
Yeah, and I think it kind of confused me, like, when he found that out, I thought that it was gonna kinda shift, like,
Mm-hmm.
we'd see more of a hectic
Mm-hmm.
scramble,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, he just was upset with it, and, um, I don't know, I think he also, at this point, maybe just knowing that 2 people were going, he was like, "Not me."
Mm-hmm.
So, he just was kind of covering himself is what he thought he was doing.
Yeah, and anyone but me mentality is hard to do in small tribes.
Oh, yeah.
When like you're a tribe of 6, it's hard to have easy installation. Um,
Right.
I also appreciated like he kind of notes like I want Devontae up, but I'll settle for Moogie and Mia and Boogie instead, and we see just a lot of him kind of telling like, oh, I talked to Rosie and I told Rosie all this information, and I can be an agent for Rosie, and we get an eye roll from Boogie at that comment.
Oh, Boogie and the eye rolls, they
Mm-hmm.
were so good.
Mm-hmm.
So entertaining, and it's just I don't know. It was funny because I don't think anyone was noticing it, but Boogie was
Oh,
like,
that was for the camera. It was for
"Oh
us,
gosh,"
and we
it
thank you,
was totally
Boogie.
for the camera, and I loved it.
Why don't we talk a little bit more about Boogie? Because we actually got a lot of Boogie content this episode that I think we haven't really seen what his thoughts on the game or where he sees the game going, and we got a lot of that this episode.
Definitely. Boogie, so smart, like
Mm-hmm.
Boogie's just very self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, when you have won, obviously, but he knows how to play,
Mm-hmm.
this game, and he has played with other people, and to just have everyone telling him, like, I haven't heard your name,
Mm-hmm.
you're good. It's just, okay, yeah, tell me straight up. Like, that's more of a red flag than telling me that you've heard my name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we got lots of eye rolls.
Yeah, I think he did a great job noticing like they're lying to me. It's both the brains. I know it. And like I think the other I wrote was Alyssa was saying we're gonna vote Mia and Hannah, and he just kind of rolls his eye at the camera. And I think it's true what Hannah said last episode. They keep pitching me as a decoy vote. People are gonna catch on, and well, Boogie realizes it.
Yeah, and you can't just they all know what tribes they started on. It's not that hard to see where this breakdown comes from. So, you're talking to a winner here. You have to
Mm-hmm.
you have to have some truth to it, or it's gonna catch on, it's gonna get messy. And Boogie was just he played it off very well, but the eye rolls, you're just like, he knows.
One thing Boogie notes is he's like, I want to be beauty strong, blue tribe strong, going like in the merge to the end of the game. What are your thoughts on that kind of mentality and gameplay?
It it only works when it works, and it only works when you don't want it to work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually on your favor. I think that an all-stars game where people have so many past relationships with that aren't just from their starting tribes of this game, I think it's too hard to say that you're going to stick to your original tribe this game. Maybe if this was the first time they'd all played with each other, that'd be easier to execute. But I think it's hard. It shows he wants to be loyal, but I don't think that should be his like main priority because it's not happening.
So when you played Real Fit, you were in the Carlton tribe, which dominated the merge and basically picked off the other tribe. That basically merge was just your tribe at final 7 at that point.
Yes, or
And,
6.
and
Something like that.
yeah,
We
something like
really
that. And one of the
did.
challenges now, it's like, how well do you understand your own hierarchy? And certain people did well because of it, and certain people got blindsided and were like, wow, this tribe was not how I thought it was. I will say one benefit of running Tribe Strong in a game like this, where you started on 3 different tribes, is your numbers are so much smaller, right? So
Right,
you can feel like, hey, if I'm going in with Beauty Strong, that's Final Four. It
right,
feels a
right.
little better than Final Seven, let's be honest.
Yes. So yeah, when I played Reelfoot, it was never my plan.
Hmm.
I worked with what I had. I thought it
Yeah.
was stupid that we were going to, like we were saying, Tribe Strong. It worked out for me until I was the person on that chopping block.
Hmm.
But it is, it's nice because they're people that you've been with from the start, and a lot of those
Hmm.
connections from the start are the people that you tend to work with till the end.
Hmm.
But also, like I said, it usually doesn't work because you constantly have to make sure, one, you're not the biggest
Hmm.
threat, and two, you're not the lowest man.
Hmm.
And finding the balance in the middle is like the $1 million gameplay that everyone strives to be, and it just makes it so much harder.
Hmm.
Especially with the starting tribes being so small from the start. It's nice if you get to your only tribe, but like getting to that point is just difficult because when it comes to close votes, you're going to see people jump ship most likely.
Hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about Mia, because Mia has been this other enigma. I liked how all we saw from her last episode was her in the woods, idle hunting, maybe? I don't know. She was a lot of crouching in the woods from Mia. We do get a fair amount of crouching in the woods Mia again this episode, but we actually get some additional strategic content on her game. I think notably she notes that she and Hannah had like connected early on, and she wants to listen James out. What are your thoughts on Mia?
Okay, so Mia was someone that it's not that I wasn't like just against at the beginning. She just hadn't really caught my eye at first.
Hmm.
But seeing her talk strategy this episode, I was like, I am a Mia fan. She is so funny. Seeing her crouch down when I'm sure everyone's scrambling was just so good to me. But I think that she's just like a socially aware queen that people haven't really caught on
Hmm.
to yet, which is why, we've seen her name be out there. But she's kind of in a nice spot where if she doesn't get, power paranoid or just really increase her target by freaking out, she's kind of in an okay spot, like despite her name being out there, as long as, she's not a casualty of a power or anything like that. I really do think this is where we're going to see Mia's game like start to shine.
So you're Mia. You have a hidden data which no one knows about. You're about to go through 2 tribal councils, and that this is like the last barrier between you and merge. Do you play your idol?
I was so shocked that she did not play her idol when she was the second highest vote getter
Mm-hmm.
at the first
Mm-hmm.
tribal. But obviously, she voted correctly in that first vote, which I think if I were Mia, I would have played it at the first vote. But because she didn't play the first vote and was voting on the right side, I
Mm-hmm.
don't blame her for not playing it at the second vote.
I don't know. Like, I feel like if I make it that first vote, I just slam it down for the second vote. Just like, yeah, I'm getting to the next stage of this game. It's like, yes, isn't the highest best use of it? No, but knowledge that you're going to progress to the merge at that point in a small tribe. I mean, very, very, very rarely do you get to play an idol at at a final 5 in some
It's so
capacity.
ballsy, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's ballsy that she didn't play it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is also kind of nice, like, I don't know. It was really ballsy that she didn't play it. But I think also the fact that no one knows about it might have played into that
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. And now she has an idol going into, I'm sure, a very messy merge here just right around the corner.
Mm-hmm. So I want to get to the last player in this tribe we have to talk about, Hannah. And to do that, I want to start with I'm going to share my screen, and I want to share a clip
Oh, I'm
from this
excited.
past episode.
I know
This
exactly
is
what it is.
the montage. All right, let's hopefully hold on. I'm going to make sure I actually hit share system audio, or else it'll be a lot worse. All right.
So I basically talked to Hannah and said, like, I've got your back if you got mine. Just don't put my name down. I won't put down yours.
Hannah and I both from the start have been like, we have eyes on them, they're good. I believe Hannah's voting with me.
I just want to have the best core group that I trust the most, which would be Hannah, Boogie, and Elisa.
And Hannah, I think Hannah's 100% on my side too.
I'm so happy.
This is just it was a wonderful montage.
It was
Tell
so
me your
good.
thoughts about Hannah.
Hannah is just like I was raving about her earlier. I'm so happy that she was finally in a position to. They needed her, this whole time where she was on the chopping block. She had a lot more uncertain, she was a lot more uncertain about what was going to happen. Now I think she knew what kind of spot she's in. She is very aware of other people, and like she said, she said this in a past episode. She's like, people think I'm dumb. I'm not dumb, and she's not. So I was really excited to see what was going to happen with her vote, because this is I think the first time she's really been in a powerful position.
This is the first time she didn't get any votes cast against her, and she says she's in the middle, right? She's like, on one side we have Boogie and Mia, other side we have James and Alyssa, and I'm in the middle. That's only true if Devontae gets voted out, unfortunately, but still pretty close to be in the middle, considering those two pairs are all targeting each other.
Yes. It made me wonder, I did not think she was going to vote Devontae out. I just think I don't know. I don't know what would have been better for her game. I think had Devontae gone first and she was truly the middle vote, I think it would have almost put too many eyes on her. Who is this girl? She's never been with us here, and now she's calling the shot. So I almost think it's better for her game that she wasn't truly the swing vote, because you see someone go from the swing vote to being chopped back to back so many times. But I was so happy to see that she did not have her name, on the chopping block this time around.
So did Hannah make the right decision in who she decides to bring forward?
I think it's hard. I want to say yes with James going. Well, I don't know. James really I feel was wanting to pull her in on a lot of votes. So it's hard to say that was the best for her. But I do think it opened things up, and she's absolutely right that she does have shields still. So I think it could be the right move for her. It's a little scary knowing that two people who were willing to vote with her went, back to back. So she's putting her eggs in one basket. But Hannah is also, I think, very fluid, where she knows when she needs to jump ship. So I think that it'll be okay for her. I think especially if they are merging next, I think it was the right move, because I do think she's been kind of climbing, and I do think people are going to notice. But if they merge, I think, we've got past winners, we've got almost winners, we've got people who've made more flashy moves, where I don't necessarily think people are going to see this as a Hannah, that she pulled all the strings here.
Yeah, I like the fact that she doesn't blow up the fact she is the middle and has this power. She recognizes it, she knows what she can do, and but she's able to do it in a way that it's not going to attract attention. Plus, by totally decimating the minority lives, by voting them both out, there's less fallout.
Yeah.
I wonder if because she says I want Devontae to be my shield. I assume Jordan is also her shield. James would not really be a shield from her, because the way James is playing, James is essentially letting other people be a shield as well, namely Alyssa. And so I'm wondering, is Alyssa just a needed shield for her at this point? Do you think there's actually merit if she had targeted Boogie? Mia clearly is a good working ally with her, which is why she wasn't looking to target Mia. I don't know. I'm just curious. I'll be curious to see if Alyssa would have been a better decision to bring forward than someone else.
Yeah, I think that had Alyssa stayed, it really would have led to them having a closer relationship, which is why I said both of them going does kind of make it more uncertain to me, if this was truly a great move. But I do think she just has I don't know. She didn't put all of her eggs in one basket, but she is kind of she limited it for this move. And I think the good things about it is that it does kind of hide her. She realized that people needed her this round, but she didn't go around saying all right, you tell me this, you tell me that. She let them come to her, which is great. But it just makes me wonder is how closely now are they thinking I got Hannah, when their names are on the chopping block. I would be really sad to see if she was just like the casualty of, not being the closest with them.
I wonder. So here's why I think Alyssa would have been good to keep, and maybe Boogie's the right person to vote out. Keeping Alyssa, and maybe you vote out James in the way that Alyssa's not unhappy, leaves you connections to the Brains tribe, right? Because now you're going to have on the other side, Megan and Dallas feel very orphaned, especially with Devontae bearing a grudge against Dallas, right? Which likely going to send those two to perhaps the Braun tribe alliance, all right? So I think keeping Alyssa keeps some options open. When Hannah played Survival Challenge, the merge happened at 9. And one of the weird things about that merge is, despite there being 4 initial original tribes, there's such little crossover between the 2 tribes when they got to merge. And so I think keeping Alyssa keeps options open to roll in Megan and maybe Dallas to like maybe initially pick off that tribe, that Braun alliance. And then I think you can pitch like, Boogie may be beauty strong, but Boogie's not going to vote out Adam. And I think Adam's the head of the other alliance, and you'll need to cut out the head at some point, and Boogie is not going to want to do that.
Yeah, I think like had Hannah kept Alyssa, or had just Alyssa been kept in general, I think you're right, because now if this was the last vote before merge, now you got 4 and 4, and then like 2, and you're just like, okay, like who are they going with? It puts so much power in the last few brains that had Hannah could have shown like, hey, I got you, I can't save you both. Like, I don't know if maybe she didn't want to assert herself that much, which I don't blame her, but like it could have put her in like a really good spot being like the intel, but then who knows, maybe it could have backfired on her and like put her in the spot with the 2 brains and just like gone boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. But, I think the merge will be messy enough that I don't see her being an initial target. I think she'll be able to like deal with whatever nonsense happens. So I don't think like, again, this is just like, could it be better? I don't know if it would have been better. And I think things will work out with the fact that she got through these rounds unscathed.
Yeah, I will not be surprised whatsoever if she makes some moves and wins some challenges with this merge. I think Hannah is going to be such a big part of like the second part of this game,
So not much left. We can talk about the votes real fast. So Tribal Council comes. Devontae plays all 6 on the dark. He therefore negates essentially the first round of votes. And so everyone revotes expose. This second round ends up being a blind side with Boogie, Devontae, Mia, and Hannah all voting James. And then Alyssa and James voting Mia. With Mia having a very large reaction when that second vote comes through. Which maybe is a tell that is a tell for someone having an idol if they react really strongly to like unexpected votes. I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird. I think at that point, no one really seemed super surprised when Devontae played all 6 bullets. So I'm guessing he probably gave the heads up at some point leading up to the vote. But I was also, in terms of voting, like, do you know why Devontae voted Mia instead of
the second
Alyssa?
time? Yes. I don't know. Yeah. So James goes home. We vote a second time. Alyssa's eliminated. Hannah, Boogie, and Mia vote for Alyssa. Alyssa votes for Boogie. And Devontae has to rogue vote for Mia, which Idol? Like,
Idol is the only thing I can think of.
No one has bullets that we know of.
Yeah, because there's definitely no bullets, but my guess was that it was in case there was some sort of power played. I just wondered, it makes me wonder like how that conversation came to be. Like, did Devontae not want to vote, Alyssa to be in their good graces? Because they said every time someone has a chance to re-enter. So it's just, I wonder how it's going to be like played up to whoever comes back, and what is everyone talking about, who's gone so far.
Here's an out there theory. Maybe the plan was to be a 2-2 on Mia and Alyssa. And remember, when Boogie goes to vote that second time, he's like, I can upend this game. I have all the power. Maybe he switches his vote from Mia to Alyssa. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we can now.
Nope. Probably maybe soon.
And I think my two takeaways is, wow, I can't believe Mia didn't play her idol. And wow, the Brains tribe is being decimated.
Yes. Definitely. Biggest shock was Mia also not playing her idol. I am curious to see how Devontae plays everything off after this round. If he is more scared and playing more out there, just because he knows. I mean, his name wasn't out there. That's not why he was the only vote. His name was out there because he was the only person who could be voted for. But I think that this round will impact how he has to play in the future. And yeah, Devontae and Hannah, I feel like this was their episode to shine.
Yeah, so I guess a couple of wrap-up thoughts. So we think the merge is coming next episode, probably.
Yes.
We're down to 10 players. The first order of business will be a redemption challenge with 1 or maybe 2 players coming back in the game. Do you have any idea or anyone you'd like to see come back in the game? Or anyone you expect to see come back in the game?
I would like to see, this is hard because I think that Meredith coming back, she'd be kind of like a wild card, but I wouldn't, it's hard to say because sometimes it's just a revolving door with whoever comes back. I think someone that could come back and shake things up would be a James or Alyssa. I think they'd come back guns blazing. I obviously would love to see Stacey come back too. Any of them coming back, I think could be really good. I also would maybe even Griffin. I'm really interested to see how Griffin would play if he came back.
I think it's going to really matter who comes back because let's talk about kind of where the players are. Where we have an alliance of 3 on the red tribe of Adam, Megan, and Rosie, right?
Yes.
And then we have Dallas, who might be forced to work with them because he's like, Devontae's an issue, and I have to deal with this, right? You have Brains Tribe Megan, who might also go work with LeBron, just like, hey, the other tribe just picked off all 3 of my old alliance members, right? And so you might actually have like a good solid Red Tribe 2.0 alliance form. And then the other side, Mia, who's left out of the first vote of the Braun Tribe, will probably link up with the 4 Beauty Tribe members, right? Jordan, Boogie, Devontae, Hannah. And so you maybe could see a 5-5 deadlock with like Brains Megan perhaps being a swing in the middle. So I think who comes back might matter a lot.
Because, yeah, I think these past... the votes this round definitely are going to leave Dallas and Megan in such an interesting and kind of powerful position if Beauty and Braun don't just like gang up and pick them off. But I really don't think that's how it's going to go. So whoever comes back, it's like, what if it's a Brains that comes back? And also, like, who are the lowest men on the totem pole? Who's going to jump first? I just feel like we're going to see a lot of voting blocks this season just because of all the inner relationships. And I just think it's going to be so messy. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I see either the Brains Alliance or the Broad Alliance will get the upper hand. They'll pick off 1 or 2 of the opposing alliance, then it will devolve into chaos. That is my prediction.
Yeah.
So I think it's time we talk about our player of the week, the Bloomie, and who we would like to award the Bloomie to. I am still pretty torn on this. Do you know who you want to give it to?
I feel like this is going to sound biased, but I do think I'm going to. Okay, well, I kind of coming down to like Devontae and Hannah. Devontae honestly pulling all 6 bullets was like amazing, and I hope to see more of like the behind the scenes on that. And Hannah, this is the first time that she was getting votes and had more of a say. So it's like I want to give it to Devontae for picking all those bullets, but he didn't. He did what he did because of a position he was put in, not one he was decided to be in, kind of. Whereas Hannah, I don't know, I'm kind of torn, but I'm going to say Hannah is my Bloomie of the week. I think it's one thing to avoid having your name written down for the first time in a while, but it's another thing to work it the way she did. I think that she did it in a way that's not going to cast a huge target on herself, and I think it's workable. We'll see if Alyssa going home how that affects her, but I really do think that she played really well this round, and did so in a way that I think she can really move forward with it. So I'm going to say Hannah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a toss between Hannah and Devontae for me as well, and so I
Yeah.
probably would choose Devontae because you chose Hannah just to bring some balance to it. Because Devontae getting the bullets, like despite being screwed over by the challenge, he gets the bullets, and no votes are cast against him. He preserves his beauty lines and takes out James and Alyssa, who would have been a threat later on in the game. We can easily admit that, and so it's hard not to admire the fact he pulled all that off.
Right. And he kept, not only did he get the bullets, but he still could have been voted for. And he kept that vote off him. Every person was saying his name in some capacity. And so it's just hard to say because like his name was completely out there and Hannah's name was completely not out there. Two surprises, like when neither of them, got the votes. So they both deserve, the player of the week.
Yeah, and I will shout out Mia. We're not seeing a ton of Mia's game. The fact that Mia was the lone Brawn tribe on this kind of split tribe, and she was able to work her way into the majority lines to be valuable to people's games. That people aren't concerned that she is a former red trainer. That's not something anyone is worried about, and people want to work with her, take her forward. And she kept her idol, didn't play it. Like that's a lot of props right there.
Yes. I think had like her game been a little bit more showy this round in terms of like she didn't do anything wrong. It's just had we seen more, maybe I think she could maybe be called the Bloomy of next week, just of the future, because I really do think we're going to see her pop off here soon too.
And I want to give a shout out to Dallas because I think it was a critical play to betray Devontae. I think I don't know if we talked about it earlier, but I think if you looked at your partner, I think sometimes like, wow, I'd like this person to go home. Betray.
Right.
Like, sure, hey, there's a good shot that this might be a great way to just kick someone out of the game really easily.
And it'll be interesting to see if he takes an approach of like, I did this for you guys, not for me. I did this to keep us all safe. So we will see. Yeah.
So, okay. And I think as we kind of wrap up here, I want to give a brief ode to Griffin. One of my favorite small things of the episode is at Tribal Council. You can't like there's a little viewing gallery right behind KC of the pre-merged vote out players. I think there's some people next Griffin, but you can't see them because KC. But you can see Griffin. You can see Griffin being intent on watching this Tribal Council. He's like he's like so focused and so excited to watch this go down. That was just I just really enjoyed Griffin in the background, just kind of like going, oh my gosh, this is happening, and just being a fan.
I was like, who is that at first? And then realized it was Griffin. I was like, that's so good. It made me wonder who I was watching. So definitely interesting to think about when you also think about someone returning. So he was laser focused, getting as much tea as he could. I wonder what he's thinking.
Well, at least, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
at that point, yeah.
I guess if you're him, like with Alyssa and James come and join, you're just like, I told you so.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's about it for everything I have for the episode. Is there anything else you want to mention or talk about?
No, I think I covered it all as well.
Taylor, is there anything else you're up to or working on that you want to share, or is your life just been fully 100% law school?
It's definitely a lot of law school. I definitely wore this sweatshirt to represent IU girl. We don't like Purdue for anyone watching. And yeah, if I would like to promote, I recently played in a live game called Ascendance. It is a unique format, but if you enjoy your Survivor, Big Brother, any of that, I definitely want to promote that you watch it. The first episode of my season, which is Live 3, comes out on February 9th. You definitely want to tune in, and there will be more seasons in the future. I would highly recommend you apply to those.
Yeah. I'm excited to watch and see how it goes, even though you said it was filmed probably like late, like fall last year.
Yeah, it was filmed around October-ish. So they put a ton of work on editing. If you want to see the cast or meet me's, they are on YouTube. I will link it in the comments. But it's just, you can look up Ascendance Live. You can see past seasons. You can give some love on my meet me. But yeah.
Well, Well, thank you everyone for tuning in today for us to talk about Surviving Bloomington. Thank you, Taylor, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to geek out with me over this episode and the Prison Dilemma and everything it entails. And the merge is likely coming, so stay tuned for the next episode and recap of Surviving Bloomington. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you.